and charged and breached. This is a 3-year ordeal already, back and forth in prison. And the latest craziness, the judge, Judge Fracham, acquitted him. He says, you're not guilty. So the Crown prosecutors went and appealed that decision. The decision of acquittal was overturned, and then now Derek Reimer is going to be tried again for the same crime. I mean, double jeopardy does not exist in the United States of America, but it does exist here. If the Crown prosecutors, that's like your attorney, state attorneys,
district attorney, prosecutor, yes.
That's right. So we have Crown prosecutors because we are under the boot of a monarch here in Canada. Canada is not free, it was never free. So what is happening right now is that they can keep appealing indefinitely until they will find a crooked judge, corrupted judge that will give them what they want, which is guilty verdict. So Derek Reimer is
that's so wrong.
It's crazy. I mean, it's a totalitarian regime that I have seen when I was growing up. Police officers behind the Iron Curtain, under the boots of the communism and socialism, they had this famous saying from Beria. Beria worked for Joseph Stalin during that time.
Quick Fortnite station.
He had this famous saying, give me a man and I will find something on that man. In other words, I cook something up. I mean, we can accuse anyone of everything and pin it and, make it stick. That's what they're doing to Derek Reimer. That's what they were doing to me. As you know, I was convicted by the crooked judge Gordon Crinty in Alberta, appointed judge by the government, and he found me guilty on terrorism. So I was not only charged with terrorism, I was convicted of terrorism for giving a sermon. During my sermon, I said to the Canadian people, peacefully, no guns, no swords. This is a solidarity-style uprising, which is a peaceful paralyzing of their system by a general strike. That's what Solidarity did in the 80s, and I watched that when I was growing up. So anyway, people care about the law and order. Derek Reimer was appointed.
Pastor, they, you talk about how they say you're so dangerous, and of course, on the one hand, you're not at all. You're peaceful and preaching the gospel and everything else. But on the other hand, you are dangerous. You are a dangerous man in the spirit world.
That
is the underlying truth to it, that you are causing some real damage in the spirit realm.
Yeah, I'll prove it to you. I don't see myself as as somebody in the eyes of man, but you're right. When you believe in the Bible, when you love Jesus with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your mind, then you become dangerous to the crooks, to the light, who hate the truth speakers, right? The truth preachers. Well, those that love the lies. Their house has been built, it's a house of lies. And the moment someone like you and me comes and says, well, this is a lie, the whole thing crumbles. I remember I was, during Derek's trial, I was sitting in a gallery praying, and the Crown prosecutor, Delanovitz, Matt Delanovitz, he stood up in front of the judge and said, Your Honor, I refuse to work. As long as this man is sitting in the gallery, I will not do my job. Can you believe it? And the judge looked at him, looked at me, and said to the judge,
oh my God!
And I was just kicked out for nothing. Because my presence was disturbing whatever was happening in the courtroom. And we've seen it multiple times. So Derek Reimer was convicted by Karen Molly, and one of the most crooked judges in the province of Alberta, Karen Molly. Karen Molly, Derek appeals whatever is happening to him, and because the process becomes the punishment, Noah, the process is the punishment, because you need hundreds of thousands of dollars. It cost me millions of dollars in legal fees already to fight those people for the past 20 years. I was just charged $130,000 for my lawsuit against those people. So the system, the totalitarian system, understands what is happening. A little man like me, without the support of the people like you, we cannot fight them. They have unlimited resources, taxpayers' money. We have to crowdfund. We have to ask people, please, can you chip in? I'm willing to fight. I'm in the trenches, but please supply us with the bullets, in quote, so we can keep fighting the tyranny. So they know the system. Derek Reimer could not afford a lawyer, so he represented himself. And I've never seen something like this before, Noah. And again, I'm a little bit of an expert now, 120 court cases. I think I have become the most persecuted in the history of this country, with over 360 citations, and so many arrests. My lawyers don't even remember how many times I was arrested, including the COVID era for keeping the church's doors open. I received tickets after tickets. In one day, I think I received 21 tickets, so just gives you an idea. So Derek Reimer represents himself. He goes to the court and he makes his submission. So the system is this. When you file an application, then the judge, as a referee, he is required, or she's required, just to listen to the submissions. Okay, you make your submission, you make your submission, and I will make a ruling. That's the normal way of dealing in the court. This devil, this crooked, corrupted, woke, rogue judge, Karen Molly, she stops Derek in the middle of his submission. She's not even allowing this man to make his presentation. And she says, I don't want to hear it. And Derek's like, but I have a right to make my case. I mean, it's my life. She stops him, and then she leaves the room and tells the sheriffs to deal with Derek. So Derek was escorted out and was told, when the judge tells you to stop, you must stop or we'll have to arrest you. So he comes back, the judge comes back. This does not allow him, Karen Molly, she does not allow him to proceed. He's not allowed to make his case. Instead, she turns to the Crown prosecutor. He submits his submissions without any interruption, and then she makes a ruling not allowing Derek Reimer to say a word. Can you believe it? I mean, this is what I remember, because I teach history. Nazis did during the Adolf Hitler era. That's exactly what the communists did when I was growing up. That's exactly what is happening in North Korea under Sharia law. In China, that's in Soviet Russia. This is exactly the modus operandi of tyrants. We don't want to hear. We already made up our mind. We call this show trial. A show trial is when an accused is being brought before the so-called justice, and it doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter what kind of evidence that individual has. It has already been decided because it has been decided by the politicians. Derek, they refused. The Karen Molly made her decision against Derek Reimer. So he goes back to house arrest.
He was on A or B?
Karen Molly.
Oh, you're on B.
This is crazy stuff. Even when I'm sharing this with you, she made a court order. I want the people to understand what is happening in Canada. She made a court order demanding Derek Reimer, pastor in Calgary, Alberta, under conservative government. That's like your Republicans. She demanded that he is to write an apology letter to the manager that brings the groomers and all kinds of weirdos into our libraries. And Derek says, I cannot do that. This would be going against my faith, against my religion, against my conscience. And in Canada, we used to have something that is a freedom of peaceful assembly. That's gone. Freedom of religion. That's gone. Freedom of conscience. That's gone. And Derek Reimer said that he's not going to do it. And that reminds me of another man. I remember when I was touring the United States before my final arrest on the tarmac, not final arrest, one of the arrests, when I arrived to step out of the plane and I was arrested, can you believe it, on the tarmac. That reminded me of Martin Luther, the German mind, because that was my last address to the American people when I knew I'm going to be arrested.
I did have a riptide? Yeah, I did.
We'll never see each other again, and I want you to remember my final words, and I quoted this. So listen, because that's what Derek Reimer is doing right now. Martin Luther, the German monk, when he was brought before a show trial as well, and of course the penalty was not just imprisonment or house arrest, the penalty was being burned on a stake and maybe tortured, and your legs would be broken and arms, and who knows, those people were sick to the core. he stood in front of them and they asked him one thing. They said, if you recount, if you say you're sorry, that's exactly what they want from their driver. That's what they wanted from me. The Crown Prosecutor Stephen Johnson said to me when I was in prison, solitary confinement, against the international laws, he said, if you say you're sorry, you can go home. That's exactly what the establishment wants. They want us to bow, just like Satan said to Jesus, if you only bow, I'll give you this and I'll give you that, and you'll be the king. And Jesus looked at him and he's like, I'll paraphrase this, of course, but he looked at the Satan. I imagine this, how it unfolded, like, I'm already king. I'm nothing to give me, dude. I'm already the King of Kings. Everything belongs to me. But here's what Martin Luther said. I cannot and will not recount anything, for to go against conscience is neither right nor safe. Here I stand, I can do no other, so help me God. That's what he said when he faced his tormentors and facing being burned on a stake. And Derek Reimer did the same thing. So what those little minions of Satan did, they sent the police. And I had this feeling, Noah, usually I don't go with him to the probation office every week. He has to go to see his probation officer. And Palmer, I think, if I remember correctly, Palmer is the name of that devil probation officer in Calgary. And here's what I want people to understand. In the office, because I was there, so I testified and I recorded it. In the office of the probation, where Derek Reimer is subjected to cruel and unusual punishment, he has everywhere, every door, a homosexual flag. So you're being subjected to an entity that promotes only one side, right? Or one ideology, and you're Christian, therefore you will get a stick. Derek is forced to apologize. He says, I cannot apologize. So he has been given into the hands of this Palmer guy, the head of the probation office, and as he walks into the room, that man says, you have to follow me to another room. And Derek knew that there are police officers waiting like gangsters, like mafia people in that room. So he says, I will not go there because you're going to arrest me where no one will know what happens to me. So I was there. I was filming back and forth, talking, waiting. Police cruiser shows up, sees me. They took off because they know it's going to be a splash now. The people of the world will know what is happening. So they went around where we were not allowed to go, hid their police vehicles like mafia, like gangsters, and waited for hours for Derek to finally come into the room. Derek didn't. He came with his wife, his supporters. So finally, a lawyer showed up. Mackenzie is his name. He showed up, and Derek comes out to see his lawyer, and that, boom, police came from the room, arrested Derek, and he has been charged with 4 accounts of breaches, and the breaches are insane. Derek Reimer, at the last meeting with Karen Molly, the crooked judge of Alberta, denied his right to make his appeal, to make his submissions. After coming out, he did 3 minutes interview with the media. In other words, he said to the panel,